So Red Dead Redemption is the iconic Western video game, and by Western I mean like in the Wild West, not Western like from the United States. The game is finally coming to PC, to personal computers. 14 years after its initial release. This release is also going to include the DLC Undead Nightmare, which was like a non-canonical zombie campaign expansion, which is kind of like fun doing like zombies in the Wild West. I haven't really seen that before. And the quote here from Rockstar is, quote, "For the first time in its storied legacy, John Marston's beloved journey can be experienced on PC in stunning new detail with both Red Dead Redemption and its iconic zombie horror companion story, Undead Nightmare, arriving to PC on October 29th. So the original game, this was released back in 2010 by Rockstar Games. Of course, they are famous for the Grand Theft Auto series, and Red Dead Redemption was kind of billed at the time. Basically, it was basically GTA, but in the Wild West, right? Very similar game mechanics, but instead of driving around on, stealing a car and driving around city blocks, you're riding your horse and riding through the West, right? The wilderness and the desert. But notably, it was only released for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. So now it's finally coming to PC. There was a port to the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch recently, and the people who developed those ports, Double 11 is the name of the studio, Double 11, they're going to be developing this port, or not, they are going to be. If it's coming out in 2 weeks, they've already developed it. But so they're also developing this. And some details about the port, for those tech people in the audience, for those of you who are not technically knowledgeable, then maybe tune this out for 10 seconds. So it's going to support native 4K resolution. It's going to support ultra wide and super ultra wide monitors. So that's like when you have like the really wide monitors that kind of, it's like almost like 3 monitors that have been like put together. It's going to have HDR10 support. It'll have full keyboard and mouse functionality. There'll be upscaling technologies implemented, as well as adjustable draw distances, shadow quality settings, and more. So a lot of bells and whistles to kind of bring this game into our modern standards for graphical and technical fidelity. So this is not really that big of a deal. But don't click off the video just yet, because I feel like this reflects the rise and fall and rise again of PC gaming, right? For years, if not decades, it was the primary mode of gaming, or was, it was always more technologically advanced than consoles, and it always has been. But particularly when you get into the 80s, right, you're able to have a lot more complex games on personal computers than you are on home consoles. But as time went on, once you move into the 90s, consoles started becoming cheaper and more powerful. So by the 2000s, if you had a multi-platform game, multi-platform means it's not exclusive to one console. It'll be on Sony's consoles and Nintendo and Microsoft and PC. By the 2000s, a lot of multi-platform games started foregoing a PC release. Because they just felt it wasn't worth the investment to release it on PC. That most people that would want the game would have a home console. And it was, and these consoles were now canvases that developers could use to fulfill their dreams in ways that they couldn't have done a decade earlier. So this kind of created an issue where the games that did have PC ports or PC versions, not a lot of money and time were put into them. So they often famously had major technical issues. Lots of bugs, required lots of patches. But all this to say, PC gaming still had a very dedicated user base. Like, no one's denying that. But most of these users in the 2000s, maybe early 2010s, were tech enthusiasts who had the time and money to build their own custom gaming PCs. Because the benefit of a gaming PC is, or maybe I should say, the drawback of a console is when you buy it and it's new, like it's a new console that just came out, it's going to be like state-of-the-art, high-quality, tech infrastructure and the technological capabilities of this thing are going to be really state-of-the-art. But eventually, they get obsolete, right? They still work, but the industry starts developing new technologies that these consoles can't take advantage of because by definition, it is a constructed thing that has already been sold to the user, right? By contrast, PCs, you can swap out parts, right? So as games become more complicated, you can upgrade your CPU or you can upgrade your graphics card, and you can kind of update your gaming device as new technology develops, right? So that was always the allure of PC gaming. And it's starting now to swing the other way. Because now, like I said, in the 90s and 2000s, consoles started to become cheaper and more powerful. While they're certainly still becoming more powerful, the gains are less and less with each generation. And they're also just becoming prohibitively expensive again. With the PS5 Pro, for example, which I did a video about on the channel, it's launching at $700, and that's without a disc drive. And you're starting to see a lot more games start moving over to PC. You start to see this in 2019 with when Xbox Game Pass launched. And Xbox Game Pass is kind of like the Netflix of gaming, where you pay like a flat monthly fee, you get access to like hundreds of games. And notably, it when it launched, it allowed the Game Pass library to be locally playable on PCs. So if you don't know what I mean by that, locally means like you're actually installing the software, i.e. the game, onto your computer, as opposed to streaming it. And that's huge because obviously you're going to have a lot of... The quality is only going to be so good if you're streaming it because there's like the delay. That's why like watching a Blu-ray disc is always going to be higher quality than watching the same movie on Netflix. Even if it's both HD, there's just something about the fact that you have to stream it degrades the quality slightly. So that really helped, having Game Pass on PC natively and locally. And then in 2020, Sony and PlayStation started releasing full-on PC ports of their exclusive games. So this is not part of a subscription that you can use on multiple devices. This is like an official PC release for some of their biggest exclusive games. I think it started with their game Horizon Zero Dawn. Since then, we've seen games like God of War and Uncharted have proper PC releases. And Xbox is doing the same. And I think it's because console manufacturers realize there's a lot of money to be made, right? A lot of these console manufacturers see PC as almost like neutral territory. So it's kind of like, okay, we obviously still want these games to be exclusive to PlayStation consoles because we want to maintain the ecosystem and all of that. But PC, well, it couldn't hurt, and we'll make even more money. So, there's a lot of money to be made. Overall, I'm always happy to see this because it's really great for preservation. Games have the unique quality as a form of media. Unlike books or movies or songs even, games are designed for certain hardware. So whereas, you could buy a DVD player from 20 years ago or a DVD player from today, they're both going to play DVDs. Whereas a game, if it's only playable on the PS3 and the PS4 is not backwards compatible, you're shit out of luck, right? So a lot of games have the issue of being locked to older hardware. And it's hard also because the video game companies are not great about preserving its history. It's hard to find some older games, if you can find them at all. And this is the reason emulation is so popular. Notably, emulation is used on computers, right? And the benefit of that is, you can change the settings of the game to fit more modern technical capabilities. Even if you're not adding mods or new textures to games, just being able to pull up Dolphin, which is like the GameCube emulator, and set the resolution really high, I mean, you're still going to have mid-2000s blocky texture and graphics, but they'll all be really sharp. Like the resolution will be really good, or the frame rate will be higher. So you're able to kind of adjust those settings. And being re-released is always great for the reasons I explained, so it's more accessible to more modern audiences. But a modern PC release is always best because again, you can make those, because unlike console versions of games, PC has always supported the ability to play around with the settings depending on your hardware. Modern console games are starting to get into that because it's like, well, do you want better resolution or do you want better frame rate or what do you know, so that's starting to be introduced, but that's always been a thing with PC. But the thing about PC is, again, now that it's on PC, it can constantly be updated and patched to take advantage of advanced hardware. It doesn't require a re-release, right? Whereas if they had just done these ports for PS4 and Switch for Red Dead Redemption, you know, that would be fine until it gets locked to those consoles, and then you would need to do another re-release. So when it's on PC, that means that from now on, unless something catastrophic happens, it's basically now future-proofed, and it can always be updated and patched. So hopefully, you know, more older games get PC ports, especially games that did not get PC ports in this era or had ports, but they were really, really bad ports. Because I think that'll just be better for game preservation in the long run. Wow, what an interesting story. I'm sure you have some thoughts about the topic, so comment below, let me know what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really, really helps people find the channel and makes me feel all warm inside. Until next time, I'm Peter Mancuso. Peace out.